One of the topics that you really delve into in the book that's sort of at the center of it is what you call the preventive war paradox. Can you explain what that is and why it's important?
So let me go back to sort of the ground definitions, just to make sure everybody's tracking on what are we talking about in terms of preventive war, because those of you who have followed the debate about the invasion of Iraq, should we use military force against Iran's nuclear infrastructure, the debate about military force against North Korea and its nuclear program, the word we hear most often is preemption, right? And you see this word used by political leaders, you see it used in the press to characterize the conditions under which you are using military force. But what we're really talking about in these cases is preventive war. And these two terms have been conflated in a very dangerous way in my mind. The word preemption is about striking first, taking the first military move when you actually have indicators an attack is coming in your direction. And under international law, under just war theory, and under smart strategy, if you know an adversary is about to attack you, is in the final stages of preparing an attack, you have no obligation to absorb that first hit. You can take the first strike and declare this legitimate self-defense. That's preemption. But in each one of these modern cases, whether it's Iraq and the argument about weapons of mass destruction that Saddam Hussein was allegedly developed and may use against American-friendly targets or may give to terrorists, whether we're talking about the Iranian nuclear program, whether we're talking about North Korea, this is not about an imminent attack. This is not about self-defense hitting before we are hit. Preventive war is simply about fear of the future. And you watch a rival state that's growing in power, and you worry about what's going to happen 2 years from now, 5 years from now, if you get into a conflict. If you get into a conflict 5 years from now, it will come at a higher cost than if you pull the trigger today. And that's the simple logic of preventive war. But if you really think about the distinction between preemption and preventive war, and what it means to actually take on the risks, the moral liabilities, the legal liabilities of hitting first, when you do not know what the future holds. Nobody has a crystal ball. It's really just to avoid whatever dark visions of the future you are hoping to prevent, simply by delivering a punch against the military capabilities that a potential rival is developing. So the core of my argument is, when you think about this logic, even though the German case is at the core of this book, I'm looking at 2,500 years of history. I literally go back to the Peloponnesian War between ancient Athens and Sparta, and I look at a number of cases in the modern state system right up to the present time. And what I have noticed is, in the vast majority of these cases, instead of actually neutralizing a future threat by delivering a hit against its army, its weapon systems, whatever is causing you this fear, it actually generates this paradoxical outcome in which you can actually achieve operational success. You can deliver missiles against targets and destroy them. You can fight the adversary in the field and win militarily. But the question is, what have you put in motion from a strategic perspective? And in the vast majority of cases historically, what we see is the country that thought it was saving itself from a greater danger in the future actually creates this greater danger, because you generate a level of hostility, a deepening rivalry, and a desire for revenge that comes back to haunt them. And the argument could be, and again, this is all just sort of thinking about possible futures, you're actually facing a much worse situation, paradoxically, even if you win a battlefield victory in the near term. So this is really at the core of the argument that I'm trying to get out there.